We are back to Deus Ex. We didn't get a whole lot of this done on Friday, so I thought it'd be nice to try and get at least one weekend stream of this game in. I know I definitely have some stuff that I've got planned to do tonight, so I am not going to make any promises for a particularly long cast, which has unfortunately been the story for these Deus Ex casts, but I think if we can at least maybe get through like a mission or two and get back on track, I'll feel a little bit better about jumping between, let's say, something like I don't know, like Assassin's Creed and then Deus Ex every once in a while. I kind of feel like Deus Ex got put on the back seat. Hang on. I think we lost some progress, so actually it's probably just as well that yeah, we did lose some progress. Okay. One, 2, 5. All right, well, that's a start. Let's try that again. I definitely did not build this character for combat, so obviously if I'm firing my weapon it's pretty scattershot, but we should be able to get through this. You know, the one drawback is I did kind of blow away Manderley last time, and it's interesting to me if we see what happens if I let him live. Maybe I'll bring some continuity with my hey Pthrum, how you doing? I'll maybe do some continuity with my last playthrough, but that's a little bit of a shame that I didn't properly save. I kind of thought the autosave had my back on that, but... Oh, actually, we've got quite a bit that we need to do.
Please exit to the helipad. Potential encounters include Jaime Reyes, Sam Carter, Alex Jacobson, Joseph Manderley, and Anna Navarra.
Stand where I can see you.
Thank you very much for the auto hosts, D-Raven, Docs Gaming, Lady Dow, and Pthrum, although of course you're here, so I don't know if it really counts as an auto host. Right. Impressive grasp of nano augmentation. It seems it's appropriate that you should participate in the evaluation of JC Dungeon's kill switch. It's unfortunate when situations like this occur, particularly that when they involve agents with obvious talents and... Okay.
JC.
I'm gonna try and run through this stuff as quickly as I can.
Stay here. I could use an ally inside UNATCO.
Good idea. I can keep you informed.
Do that, but be careful.
Yeah, Pthrum, it's actually
No,
one of the
they do
reasons
spies.
why I'm
Get
streaming tonight. Right. I kind of feel like my schedule got a little tossed up last time around. I opted to what did I say I was going to do? I think it was the energy shield that I went for. Oh, do I need any healing? No. But yeah, so obviously my schedule last week got a little twisted around, so
We're under a lockdown. You'll need to find a key to
I kind of decided to maybe do a bonus stream for for Deus Ex. Or are you planning on streaming tomorrow if you do decide to go for it, Pithram? Right. I notice I get more red if I if I don't read it out loud.
JC, I've been watching you.
But I need to get my hacking a little bit better.
You're gonna. I think.
All right. By the way, one of the things that I think is really funny about the kill switch for Ana Navarra is the fact that, like, you only need to say it to her and she explodes.
General Carter.
Whereas
What?
for Denton, it's whoa. Where do you come from?
Load up. You've still got to break out of HQ.
So for Ana Navarra, you need to you say the words and she explodes before your very eyes. Whereas for the Denton brothers, the kill switch is activated and they basically die over time. Obviously, there's a very good, dramatically appropriate reason for that to happen, but it's a little strange when there's different rules for the main character versus the other characters. Can't figure out why Obs doesn't agree with Thief Gold. Fix it when you want to do
But I
Thief.
believe that if an institution has a solid foundation, it can survive the narrow aspirations of the people. It
So, I'm really not the authority to talk about these. How you doing, Nubisaur? By the way, I didn't forget what you said about story-based games, particularly ones which give me some dialogue to work with.
We'll get this place back on track.
I'm still kicking around a few ideas, but I wanted to let you know that I take feedback like that kind of seriously. So I just need to work a little bit on when I'm actually going to accomplish these magical things. I think I said I wanted to improve my arm strength. Kind of access to new areas sort of trumps everything. And then I was gonna load up the assault rifle.
We'll get this place back on track.
Anyways, so I'm definitely not an authority on these things, Pithram, but I tend to notice I was making an effort to try and get Max Payne to work. Now that was a Steam copy, I believe, and my experience has been that with oops. Okay, we'll let that recharge. I don't need the cigarettes. My experience has been that if for whatever reason it doesn't want to take, you know, I'm actually a little curious what's on this side, and I know I've already taken out one of the guards, so. Oh, nope, there's more than one. Alright, well, I think I know how I'm gonna handle this.
It's Denton.
This ain't over.
And I also have, oh, you know what? I really gotta work out my inventory here. All right, sorry, Pithram, I've not been answering you properly. So I think one of the things that has worked for me in the past has been to use OBS Studio for those games. That music makes me think that there's still guys running around. Wait a minute. There are people still running around. So yeah, I can't explain exactly why, but it seems like OBS Studio is it plays a little bit better with the kinds of games that I want to play. So if you're having troubles with I actually have been planning on doing Thief, so that's good information for me that it doesn't work the way we sort of expect it to. But if you haven't tried Studio yet, you may find a little more success. I find usually what I need to do is Studio and then windowed mode. But your experience may be slightly different. I can't believe it actually took me that long to get that thought out, but a little preoccupied by the game too. So I'll be sure to save after this. It's a little annoying to have to do the whole story, but and nothing of note. So we went on that adventure for nothing. Suppose I could like put one of the vests on the bar, but I'm taking this. Right. I need to find the other phrase for Ana Navarra. Also pay a visit to Manderley. Whenever OBS is running the game's FPS chugs, it's weird. System Shock 2 doesn't give video for some reason.
JC.
Weird.
Manderley, it's JC.
I haven't actually had those problems that you're describing, Peter. I've definitely had problems before, but not. It's actually hard to think about whether or not that's an OBS problem or not.
How could you betray the Coalition?
You will be much happier at the Library of Congress.
I can't control a man's mind.
You aren't a commander, Manderley. We hoped you'd give UNATCO an urbane diplomatic face, that's all. We screwed up our priorities.
I refuse to be pushed into some obscure bureaucratic cubbyhole.
Actually, I doubt you'll get the chance. Look around. Your star pupil has come back to teach a lesson to his old instructor.
JC.
I never had time to take the oath of service to the Coalition. How about this one? I swear not to rest until UNATCO is...
Alright, see you in a second, Peter. We're just covering old material anyway, so...
Big words for a rookie.
We'll see about...
So the fact that Manderley has a pistol on him when I killed him last time, I'm a little curious if he tries to kill you when you exit the office.
You Dentons sure hung us out to dry.
Yep.
He was right here. What the hell happened?
So I suppose the funny thing is that in the original playthrough of this that I did, I blew him away in cold blood, and then it turns out that for not saving properly, we get to find out that I was justified in it anyway.
Contact. I have visual. Engaging the enemy. Hell. You. Stop right there. Engaging the enemy. He gets away. Manderley's gonna have our ass.
Absolutely love this trick with the yeah, I'm screwed. And you know what? I didn't save before, so we're gonna have to do all this over again! Alright, well... that was a really boneheaded way to handle that situation anyway, so... we'll see what the game gives me after it's done twisting around my corpse. Hey Johnny Big Time, we actually lost some progress in this game, so I need to go back from the... oh wow, that far, huh? Alright, well, I can make that quick. But yeah, so we're going over some material that I actually did last stream anyway, but it's pretty straightforward. I'm just, I don't know, I'm just being kind of dumb and doing it, so. How have you been, Johnny Big Time? I know, I feel like it's been a while since I've caught one of your casts. What have you been playing lately?
Potential encounters include Jaime Reyes, Sam Carter, Alex Jacobson, Joseph Manderley, and Anna Navarro.
So this guy seems to have eyes in the back of his head. He'll probably turn around as soon as I get into tasing distance, but we'll give it a shot. Nope, so far so good. Alright, well we didn't need to waste 2 on that one, so that's good. Anyways, yeah, so I know you've been doing Horizon Zero Dawn. Is there anything else that you've been up to? Not casting in like 3 days, had some friends in town, you were doing some behind the scenes work. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So guys, for those of you who don't know, Johnny's actually been teasing some of his upcoming games, or maybe not games, but his upcoming programming, and I'm really looking forward to it. He knows how to tease just enough material. And I mean, more importantly, like, I think it's no secret that I'm a big fan of his stuff, so I'm obviously gonna get excited really no matter what. But yeah, if you haven't taken a look, definitely follow. So obviously I say follow him on Twitch, that goes without saying. But if you're not following his Twitter or his Discord and things like that, you're really missing out.
JC.
Stay.
Sorry guys, we've already done this dialogue, so if you want to know what's said, if you missed last cast, I'll happily fill you in. Alright, just so I can avoid repeating some of this stuff, I'll make a new save. And then, I'll jump in, I don't know, I'll do like periodic saves in between, just to make sure everything's sort of where it needs to be. So like I said, I didn't give myself a real, I didn't give myself any real guidelines in terms of how long I would stream tonight, so I may, maybe a little bit shorter than what people want, but I was hoping that we could make some story progress. As it turns out, there's actually some retreading that I need to do, but that's fine because I'll just kind of save at important important moments.
Sorry, Jace. Sorry, Jace.
Oops.
I know I saw. God damn terrorists. Stay sharp, people.
He's way too fast.
Nail this guy and we all get a bonus.
I'm not proud of this tactic. It just, ooh.
We'll find him. This guy's just a rookie. Lock and load.
I don't know if I hit him. Yep, I did.
Son of a...
UNATCO defeated by doors. That's how that works, right? Alright, I'll quickly take a second just to heal up. I probably shouldn't be getting tagged by those rifles, but I'm bad at this game, so it kind of comes with the territory. We'll see.
General Carter.
Carter. One thing that I've always liked about this game, again, I was talking a little bit about Dynamike's shout out that he gave me when I was playing this game and how he commented on the graphical quality. And again, this has always been part and parcel of Deus Ex for me. Like I was never really that bothered by it. Although, when I think about it now, right, like this game definitely feels so,
Load up. You've still got to break out.
like, if I compare it to, Battlefield 1 or something like that, it's a very obvious difference, but it's one that I've never really reflected on that much. Where was I going with this? I really do like the cinematic touches that they have, so even if it's not a game that...
The institution has a solid foundation. It can survive the narrow aspirations of the people it employs.
So even if it's not a game that, so even if these graphics would be ones that, I mean, like a perfect example of this actually is when we take a look at some of the cityscapes. How much progress did I lose? So last stream I successfully escaped the UNATCO headquarters where we are right now, and we got pulled in to sort of a secret base in Hong Kong. So it's basically just this level that I lost. You should see that momentarily, actually. But yeah, so even though the game's visuals maybe aren't 100%, like, again, it's all kind of blocky, and if you look at the cityscapes, like, it's a big series of sort of corridors and hallways and things like that. It's still, in terms of just the angles for the dialogues and things like that, it actually still, I think it holds up. Again, like, obviously, one of the things I commented about during Battlefield 1 was its ability to sort of take this very cinematic and this very literary approach to its stories. But I think even that opening cinematic in the game, I think it did a really nice job of sort of doing some nice little visual storytelling, making it cinematic. And again, when you reflect on the fact that this game had to fit on one CD,
JC.
it's actually really,
Manderley, it's JC.
to me at least, it's quite impressive.
You will be much happier at the Library of Congress.
I can't.
I should check who actually saw this stuff before
You aren't
when
a
we streamed it
commander,
last.
Manderley. We hoped you'd give UNATCO an urbane diplomatic face, that's all. We screwed up our priorities.
I refuse to be pushed into some obscure bureaucratic cubbyhole.
Actually, I doubt you'll get the chance. Look around. Your star pupil has come back to teach a lesson to his old instructor.
JC,
I never had time to take the oath of service to the Coalition. How about this one? I swear not to rest until UNATCO is free of you and the other crooked bureaucrats who perverted its mission.
big words for a rookie. The only problem is that I've notified Agent Navarra of your escape. Trust me, she'll make sure you don't leave the facility alive.
You can't run, Denton. Even if you escape, your kill switch is counting down. You'll be dead in 23 hours. Another $50 billion down the drain.
We'll see about that.
You Dentons sure hung us out to dry.
So even something like this, right, where you get sort of, I mean, again, the X-Files was probably on TV when this thing came out. Even little bits of sort of lighting effects, shadowy figures in the government bureaucracy. I think all that stuff
We won't recognize you
counts.
in a few weeks. Simons will turn it into his own private army.
Good lord, am I gonna die to him? Last kill was a lot cleaner.
This guy, we are gonna run this. I've got nothing. He's gone. I think we blew it.
Speaking of blowing it, my right arm's out, so I gotta be really careful for the next little bit.
How could you betray the Coalition?
Alright. That is Johnny Big Time. We know how to agent with style. So this is one of the few games, I mean, there's no benefit to doing so far as I can tell, but this is actually one of the games that you can play completely non-lethally. I don't really see any reason for JC Denton to actually be a pacifist. However, I do see a difference in terms of being sort of a police officer and seeking non-lethal means to resolve situations, where possible at least. But obviously there've been points where I felt completely justified in killing a target.
I will have to kill you myself.
Take your best shot, Flatlander 1.
How did you know?
America!
You gave Anna exactly what she deserved. I've sat here and watched her kill dozens of suspects. Now I'm not so worried about sticking out my neck to give you this key.
I think you've already stuck out your neck, Daedalus.
What are you talking about?
You haven't been contacting me under an alias?
The link went down. At first, I thought they'd executed you.
Who else has access? Somebody cut the power to detention.
I installed UNATCO security myself. It's unbeatable. You're starting to scare me.
Not as much as you're scaring me. Who's Daedalus, and why does he want to rescue me?
A better hacker than I. A trick like that? Well, it crossed my mind, I have to admit. I'm pretty disgusted with the agency right now, but I would have been caught.
You wouldn't want to take that chance.
No, but I can't just sit back and watch.
You sound sincere. Maybe you should quit UNATCO.
And do what?
You can track me down in Hong Kong. I'm going to contact Tracer Tong and help the Resistance.
I might do that. Sure, I'll think about it. And
Hello,
I'm gonna check
Jeff
into this
Dahab.
mystery hacker.
So, Johnny, this is the tough call. Like, so I think if you wanted to do a non-lethal playthrough of this, you would have to not learn Navarra's kill switch, and you would need to use like a tranquilizer or on something like that. It would you'd have to kind of go out of your way, and even then, I'm not sure if in the story Alex recognizes that you have not that you've killed her or not. I've never beaten the game. Or, sorry, well, I've never beaten the game, period. But I've never done anything other than see. I've always learned her kill phrase. But so far as I can tell, again, I was talking a little bit about how there's a difference between the.
We have you. Stop right there.
There's a difference between sort of the base game. Or sorry.
No, I cannot forgive. No. Not the killing of Agent Navarre. I will. Denton, I will get you.
So, there's the story that the game wants to tell, which I think does involve Denton effectively killing one or two people. And again, like I said, I know a lot of people make it a big deal about games that give you completely non-violent ways of playing it, but I mean, in the end, this game it's a cyberpunk game, right? It's oh, piss off.
How do you know to meet me?
Daedalus. He called himself Daedalus. A
a friend of yours?
Nope. I came because I owe your brother Paul a few favors.
I wish he was coming with us.
Me too, JC. Me too. Get in. I'm gonna take you to Hong Kong.
Can you put me in contact with Tracer Tong?
I know a place where we can touch down in the city, but Tong is very suspicious of foreigners. You'll have to earn the trust of your brother's allies. They'll know how to find Tong.
Great. Let's go.
Time to see if this stealth copter is worth all the fuss. MJ-12 has a facility in Hong Kong, and they'll be watching for us.
So Johnny Big Time, this is where we finish. Anyways, yeah, so the way that this... I'm sorry, now I remember. So the game kind of has different rules for JC Denton versus the other characters. So in this case, we've got 24 hours for our kill switch to activate, whereas with Ana Navarra, it seems like once we said her kill phrase, Flatlander Woman, she died, and it seems like for the mechanized characters, they always die followed by an explosion. That also applies to the Men in Black. But again, I don't know. There doesn't seem to be a story reason for why.
Blew it, JC. I'm sorry. MJ-12 must want you bad. Locked on the chopper and had the nav computer fly straight in. My stores are shut. My weapons are locked. Weapon lock switches on flight control deck 1. Get me back online or we're dead meat.
So yeah, there doesn't seem to be, at least what I could find, there doesn't seem to be a story reason as to why this second generation of JC and Paul has like this slow-acting kill switch. But it's fine, it's a fantasy. But yeah, so I mean, I think the other game that a lot of people talk about being, having the option of a non-violent playthrough is Undertale, which I have only ever heard very negative things about the community. So I'm not particularly in a rush to play that. And I sort of get it, right? Because I know, like, this may be a little old-fashioned now, but, time was where you would, if there's some kind of violence that children have committed, you would usually see video games blamed, rightly or wrongly. Got a shipment of that experimental fuel, but it's scary stuff. Toxic 6 ways to Sunday, and while emergency purge is destined to shunt it into the basement tanks in case of a problem, the fumes alone could creep back up the ventilation system, and most of the facility would get out of business. Definitely lowest bid contractor work. Until I can get a hold of someone to fix this mess, I've slapped a temporary lockout on the purge valve. 99871. Give me a ring at 443-2334-233-88123 if there's a problem. Hey, Vanguard Master. Nope, perfectly understandable. We actually just got back to where we left last cast, so it's been a lot of review tonight. I don't need that pistol. My inventory management kind of sucks. But yeah, so I mean, I know, it's not that hard to imagine, some Republican member of Congress, or even Democrat, Lieberman, I think, made this sort of a hobby horse. Standing up, talking about, games like Killzone, those kinds of speeches. So I sort of understand why there's a tendency for people to talk about, games with non-violent...
Careful down there. That fueling equipment was installed by the lowest bidder. One time I had to fly a couple of gas technicians to the emergency room.
So it's I can sort of understand why people want to point to that, but then, like, I like puzzle games, so that's always, that's always been the case for me, right? There's very few violent puzzle games, at least. So personally, I'm...
You just released poison gas into the lower levels. Find a hazmat suit or get out of there.
Well, I'm boned. I'm not quite sure what purpose that served, but there you have it. Yeah, so I guess that was just a really long way of me saying that I sort of understand why some people might want to make a big deal about a particular you know, game being non-violent, but to me, like, there's plenty of games which have been non-violent and really good ones. So after the recent theft of SH-187, we're reevaluating our security procedures. Until further notice, Deck 1 flight control has been sealed and troops ordered to the barracks. If you need to access flight control, please see Tech Sergeant McKinney. I think there were a bunch of guys on one of these rooms. So I think down here, yeah. All right, back to back to this one. I'm assuming at some point the poison gas is probably supposed to like clear out a level or something like that, but I'm not 100% sure what the point of that was. Then again, this is one of the things that's really fun about Deus Ex. This is, I think, the reason why people still play and still have an interest in this game. Okay, so it's just temporary gas. Or maybe this is just here to say it's like hitting every button is not a good strategy, sir. That explains it.
Who the hell? Taking fire here.
Still the same guy. There's definitely one more who hasn't been hit by this. Possibly two.
Watch yourself. This one's some kind of mech.
Oof. Alright. Not sure if I want to use one of my med kits yet.
Instead, remember the briefing. Instead, remember the briefing. I haven't gone far.
You know what probably would have worked better? If I threw one of the gas grenades.
Sergeant, is that you?
Oops.
Watch yourself. This one's some kind of mech. He's here somewhere. Request backup.
This is kind of like Assassin's Creed, right, Johnny? Yeah, so a good example. I mean, I think one of the things that I look at for this game, too, in terms of decisions to kill or something like that, is I try and consider who's working. So, for instance, in a UNATCO troop, there's actually a really horrible thing I read on Facebook. I think I was talking about this, but basically it was a So I mean, this kind of tells you the kind of people who I have on my Facebook wall too, I suppose. But one of these... you can see... So I took a look at this, and they posted something to the effect of, like, you know, to any American troop, if you come back wearing one of these, and it's like a picture of one of the blue UN helmets, like that peacekeepers wear. You know, it's like it's some not very veiled threat that they're going to kill them, basically. Which, one, how quaint. I'm sure, you know, a soldier is very amused by death threats from the citizenry. But I mean, this is one of the example of where sort of the conspiracy thought goes away from being just kind of, okay, we'll let them have their fun, or let them, you know, work with, you know what, I'll pop one medkit just in case. Yeah, so like the idea here, Johnny Big Time, I mean, this is partially what the conspiracies of this game are based on, is the idea that the United Nations is actually an effort to implement a one world government, basically. And, you know, take away liberty and so on and so forth. And the implication in this game is that the president has effectively sold out the United States to become sort of this vehicle for this much more aggressive United Nations. Now again, this has nothing, no basis in reality whatsoever, but it's something that people genuinely believe and are willing, at least in terms of a shared post, to communicate. I'm just going to read through this. UNATCO response to terrorist attack. New World Press, New York City. Terrorist strike on Liberty Island was blunted last week when UNATCO forces moved swiftly to neutralize the threat. The attack, the result of a poorly organized attempt to break down security at UNATCO headquarters by the National Secessionist Forces, NSF, was characterized by one unidentified source as a futile gesture. Walter Simons, director of FEMA, worked closely with UNATCO to coordinate both U.S. and UNATCO forces in a joint operation to root out the remaining elements of the terrorist network in New York. Terrorism is very much a snake that slithers out of the tall grass, said Simons. It is our responsibility to remain alert to the danger it presents, and to act decisively when it appears. Authorities are currently attempting to locate J.C. Denton, one of those terrorist leaders who escaped in the aftermath of the attack. So in this one, you've got, obviously, a little bit of a rebranding of the truth. They've already identified J.C. Denton as a traitor, and so they're getting out the news that he was not in fact the one to stop the terrorist attack as we experienced, but he was in fact one of the leaders. But yeah, so I try and take some of those considerations. Like, I think that somebody who goes to work with the United Nations is probably somebody who is very, you know, is trying to do good in the world. It is not necessarily that, I mean, especially too, when I'm being branded as a terrorist leader, you know, you can't necessarily blame someone for wanting to take me down, not knowing any better, right? So in that sense, I try and do non-lethal takedowns of the UNATCO staff. These guys are a little bit harder because in the end, these are MJ-12 operators, Majestic 12, which is one of the shadowy conspiracy groups in this game. And so as a result, they are much more likely to be loyal and aware of the sort of thing that they're doing. Game is frozen for me. There we go. I think now is a good time to save, actually. Hopefully I can... the security's almost certainly going to go off. Oh, maybe not. But, I mean, again, that's just it's a personal thing that I'm doing. I would feel less... I'd feel less bad about killing an MJ-12 operative than I would a UNATCO trooper. Although even in this case, I've been doing the crossbow, and in the end, crossbow is not exactly like the game portrays it to be. It isn't exactly a fully silent takedown. But it's definitely a very effective way of sort of getting one hit off and then letting. You know what? I forgot to use this. letting other people or letting the tranquilizer do its thing. So again, personal preference, and I think to a certain extent this game is a role-playing game. Like, it's perfectly reasonable to try and do a playthrough in that spirit, but it's not something I'm going to be slavish to. If I have a more expedient solution that involves shooting someone, I'll take it, right? You know what? This seems like a great way to get shot. Is there any other way up there? Yes, ladder. All right. I think what I'm gonna have to do... See? They may be members of a terrible global conspiracy trying to enslave humanity, but they whistle. Can't be all bad. So I think I'm gonna have to get 2 quick shots off and then just duck down the ladder while it does its stuff.
Son of a...
Like clockwork. See if I can find that. It's trying to find that, oh, hang on. Yeah. This is not the one I saw somebody share, but this is an example of the kind of post I was talking about. So the text, for those of you who don't want to watch it, it's an image of one of the blue UN helmets. It's actually an older version of the helmet. To any soldiers for any nation, including our own, if you put on this blue helmet of the United Nations and come to the United States, you have made yourself our target. It is our solemn duty as American patriots to kill you. We may not wear uniforms. We may not have much military training, but we'll have no pity on you. Your body may or may not ever be found. Have a nice day. So, this is one of the reasons why I was very, So, I'm not crazy about the fact that a lot of people broke friendships over the whole Trump thing. But it's why I didn't have a problem being very unreasonable. Yeah, I mean, so... This is not any kind of a justification for what's written there, Johnny, but I suppose here's the best analogy I can come up with, right? I know at the very least for this, this community, there are some... Ooh, swords. Or S-words. So one of the best things I could say about maybe a religious impulse would be, you know, proselytizing for a religion is generally kind of annoying for people, right? Like, some people just don't like being preached to. They're okay, they're tolerant enough to say, it's like, okay, you have your set of religious beliefs, I'll have mine, or lack of religious beliefs, so on and so forth. But one of the things that can sometimes cause a problem here is that if you genuinely believe that somebody's, you know, soul is on the line, or if you genuinely believe that somebody is destined to hellfire if they don't you know, adopt this belief, you're not necessarily doing anybody any favors by saying, it's like, okay, well, you know, you can suffer the consequences, my friend. Like, you could sort of understand why somebody would be really aggressive on that, even if it's not very welcome. I'm definitely not making it to the end. The only thing I got going for me for the NBA is my height, and even then, I'm not I'm not NBA numbers. I have no idea if you can even make that shot. Oh, okay then. Well, I guess the good news is we don't have any more bad guys to worry about, but I still have no idea how I'm gonna get... Oh, I didn't read this stuff. But yeah, anyway, so, like, I suppose I can sort of I can, in a weird way, rationalize it, in the sense of somebody saying that if you genuinely felt that the United Nations existed to undermine the Republic, that effectively what it was a modern means of, you know, of taking over the country, that, you know, we've progressed from, like, the World War II or, like, the 30 Years' War, you know, I want this land and I'm gonna force my ideology on you and there's nothing you can do about it kind of way, and that it's done more so through bureaucratic means. If somebody genuinely felt that this was an organization that was dedicated to the destruction of their way of life, I can kind of understand that sort of statement. But the thing is that you, like, that requires all of 15 seconds of research to see whether or not the United Nations is such an organization, right? And again, this is the difference. Like, I mean, now we have stories like Pizzagate, where people are actually showing up to businesses because of these kinds of stories and things like that. But those kinds of things have been going around a lot longer, and it just happened, for whatever reason, it kind of became... well, no, I have some very specific reasons why I think it happened this particular moment, why it sort of, it metastasized into something that became a little bit more concentrated. But yeah, I mean, if you accept the premise that the United Nations is an evil organization to effectively dominate the world, then I suppose that post makes sense. But, you know, the antecedent to that is a pretty tough one to swallow. All Hong Kong MJ-12 personnel. Hong Kong is a unique environment for MJ-12 personnel and provides a number of challenges that all members should be aware of on a daily basis. Currently, only tenuous ties exist between MJ-12 and local authorities, though MJ-12 is working to resolve that situation. And consequently, police and security cannot be expected to understand the special nature of MJ-12's charter. Agents, operatives, security, and other personnel should adhere closely to the confidentiality guidelines outlined in your handbook. One key factor in police response is the use of acoustic gunfire sensors scattered throughout much of Hong Kong. Cheap and effective, these sensors use DSP circuitry to alert the authorities to non-suppressed, i.e. not silenced, gunfire. This enables police to quickly minimize threat situations in an efficient manner. While these sensors can be disabled, Central Operations does not recommend this course of action, but rather a considered evaluation of any tactical situation to avoid local intervention. Project Dybbuk. I think we already did this one. SH-187 specifications and operation. This is like the stealth helicopter. Domination SF clearance only. The goal of Project Dybbuk was to create a long-range, viable, mission-capable rotary air... Yeah, we did this one. Alright, so there's got to be some way that I can get into that. I've literally cleared out this... this whole area. Maybe there's a key on one of these bodies? It could also be inside one of these lockers. Oh. Isn't that sexy? Alright. So it might be something on this level that I haven't explored. This is where I need to go. Till notice, Flight Deck 1 control has been sealed and troops ordered to barracks. If you need access to flight control, see Tech Sergeant McKinney. Okay. So there's got to be some indication of where Tech Sergeant McKinney is. It's like a sign on a locker or something. I mean, that or I have to pick open all of these lockers, but that... I feel like a game that focuses so much on, like, letting you interact with your environment. I feel like it would give you more, a little bit more than just... you know, there's some guy named McKinney here, but we're not going to give any evidence of who it is. Maybe something on the laptop. Welcome back, Pthrim. Deus Ex, haven't played this in ages. This is my first playthrough. Technically, no, Shaggy said I actually played this when it first came out, but we're actually at the part now, this section is basically at least the last part I remember. I might have gotten a little bit further into Hong Kong, or maybe I just got stuck in this spot and stopped playing. Like, it wasn't for a dislike by any means, but I did... I haven't actually finished, I've never finished the game, so from this point onward, basically, we're on the first playthrough. But it's a great game, I really like it, and I've been talking a lot about sort of the idea of the fact that this thing needed to fit on one CD and so on. I think everybody's actually getting really sick of me talking about that fact. But I don't know, I think it holds up. Gameplay-wise, I can't think of a lot of developments that have really overshadowed this, right? Graphics-wise, we've obviously seen a lot of development, but it's sort of hard to look at something about, you know, it's hard to look at anything that's in Deus Ex and sort of say, well, here's a gameplay mechanism, like here's a way of playing a game or a way of interacting with environments that has clearly been surpassed by modern gaming. So, you know, a good example of maybe an indirect way of looking at this would be a game like Soma. So Soma's got a really interesting story, and there's a lot of different ways of interacting with the environment. Very, you know, more or less drawn from sort of frictional... Hey, that sucks. More or less driven from the fact that Frictional is actually very good at sort of telling stories. So I think a lot of the interactions with the environment are there and very similar to Huh. Surely there must be an equivalent way. Yeah, so there's definitely a grate. But yeah, so you can take a look at a game like Soma, and you can see a very similar level of interactivity with its environment. You can pick up a lot of different items, you can sort of move them around. Whenever you see walking around, like here you think of Dark Forces. Yeah, I mean, Dark Forces, I believe, predated this game, so this one was done with the Unreal Engine, and so it has like a proper 3D engine sort of backing it up. Whereas Dark Forces was in sort of this weird little spot where it was, well, no, that's not entirely true. Like, it was basically, it was in an age of Doom, but LucasArts actually made their own engine for that. They actually made another game, so most people kind of remembered Dark Forces 1, but there was actually another first-person shooter, which I have, that was made with the Dark Forces engine called Outlaws. Now the big thing is that that one didn't necessarily, it wasn't tied to any Star Wars IP, or any, like, it wasn't Indiana Jones or anything like that, so I think it got a little less attention. Alright, this is really strange. Yeah, I don't know how well it's sold. I'm told it's actually quite a good game, and it's I know you, either through Jess or through me, I know you probably have at least sort of heard of Kilgore Trout. That was the first thing I watched him play. I was meaning to try it out on stream at some point, but I know Kilgore did it really recently, so I know I have a little bit of an overlap in terms of viewership, so I don't want to. I don't know. I'm not crazy about like seeing one streamer do a particular game and then seeing sort of another streamer pick it up at the more or less exact same time. So try to give it a little bit of attention. All right, so very clearly there's a grate there. Unless I find some way of identifying who that tech guy is, it doesn't seem like there's going to be an immediate solution in terms of doesn't seem like there's an immediate solution in terms. Well, okay, there's one other thing I can try. Should be, oh, it requires 2 picks. No, I'm not wasting 2 picks on something that. See, here's the way that I think about using 2 picks on these lockers, right? There's 1, 2. So there's 4 different lockers. It's basically a 25% chance that I get it right. So I don't really like those odds. I'd much rather just try and find the vent that's needed for this. I think I'm beginning to find or remember why I never finished this level. Take 10, Tropic Hippo. I really don't care who you are. You should know by now people don't want to be backseated unless they explicitly say so. You guys may notice that the backseating penalties are a little bit more, a little harsher this time, because every time I have to alt-tab out to deal with somebody who does that, you guys have to watch the game, you have to watch or you have to wait for the game to sort of unpause. Alright. So I'm just trying to think that. So the biggest thing that I'm trying to think about here, so there's a few different things. Obviously, in this game, there's more than a few different ways that you can there's a few different ways that you can approach this in a game. So like, if you like reading things, which is what I normally do. Yeah, not a problem at all, Vanguard Master. I wasn't actually planning on streaming that long anyway. I was hoping that I could at least get past this mission without Twitch plays. But yeah, so again, depending on how you prefer to do things, I mean, if you want to play it as a first-person shooter, you can. I really don't necessarily think that's the most rewarding way to play Deus Ex, because, like, I'll be honest with you, like, as far as shooters are concerned, like, there's, you know, Dark Forces, Doom, Quake, even the original Unreal, like, they all kind of do shooters better, I think. You don't quite have these sort of interfaces with the different weapons and such. Obviously, if I want to shoot somebody, I kind of need to wait for a while to aim. Now, obviously, that's because I haven't put the skill points in. But, you know, like, in the end, I just think if you're looking for the experience of, like, blowing everyone away, there's probably other games for that. I definitely like sort of solving puzzles. So in my case, you know, I like reading everything and going through, but there's a few different ways that you can approach it. So if you like the stealth approach, then you sort of look for different vents and different ways of running around. So again, I'm following this sort of hypothesis here that there's a vent down below. There should be some way that I can access it, although it may not be connected to these lower ones here because we haven't found a direct connection at this point. I'm also just going to take a quick second and cheat a little bit, obviously because this thing had to fit on a CD. You're going to want to make sure that the textures are the same. So the only thing that worries me is that it actually looks kind of dark back there. So that could just be kind of a flat texture that's put on something, or it could just be that there's not a lit area. So one thing that you can do is you just keep aware of your surroundings. It's hard because, of course, the textures are all sort of, you know, similar. But presumably there's some secret way inside of this this level. Next thing, of course, is you can read your environment. You can try and figure out what's going around from there. So in this case, we've got Tech Sergeant McKinney. Now, what I would normally expect, and what you'd probably see in a modern game, would be it's like, okay, well, what are the major rooms that I need to deal with, right? So, you know, one of these guys may be Tech Sergeant McKinney. We've already searched those bodies, so that doesn't work out. There might be an indication, you know, here if you hack it. I mean, there's no emails in here, but it doesn't take that much time to hack. Also, everybody who's freaking out about the fact that I haven't solved this problem yet is just going to get a little more triggered while I take longer on the game. But basically, there'd be some kind of, in a modern game at least, you know, you'd sort of see something like, you know, Sergeant McKinney or something like that written on one of these lockers, right? There doesn't seem to be that indicator yet, although I may just not be, you know, hitting the, I may not be, you know, I may just not have got the hint. There might be some other piece of information that connects one of these bunks with the individual. The other possibility, of course, is that there's, you know, that this locker. But again, I haven't, there isn't any information inside here that's told me that you know, one of these isn't owned by McKinney. And, you know, unless you go online and, like, look for a walkthrough or something like that, or you know, once upon a time, we were talking about LucasArts, actually. So LucasArts would have a hotline where you could pay, you know, some per minute charge to get solutions to the game. Again, predating the internet. But here I'm paying 2 picks, right? So again, 25% chance that assuming that McKinney's locker is in here, 25% chance that I get that right, and it costs me 2 lockers each time. So in my worst case scenario, I'm taking over half of my lockpicks to solve that particular problem. So that's, you know, that's not a very elegant way. I mean, it's, you know, clearly the key's here somewhere. But it'd be nice to, you know, it'd be nice to sort of follow the logic of the game a little bit more. And of course, that's a lot of the fun of it, right? If you want to play a particular character type where I'm putting, you know, points into, you know, some more of my stealth and some more of my thinking rolls, you know, usually you want to try and find solutions like that. Of course, the irony, too, is that it's entirely possible that I'm wrong on a hypothesis that my, you know, that the key is actually there, and at that point, you know, I've just wasted 8 lockpicks with nothing to show for it. But yeah, the other thing too is like, I mean, so it's not like the internet wasn't around when Deus Ex came out, but there's definitely something, you know, when you actually engage with the environment, when you sort of see what the game is about, it's just sort of fun to see some of the logic behind these different puzzles. So like, there's going to be a game that I play next month. I think it's actually exactly 1 month from now. And it'll actually give you some great examples of that kind of logic. I think I've just gone in a big circle here, but that's fine. I'm actually gonna tick off all of the different avenues. I'm a bit of a moron, so I tend to get turned around and think all the hallways look the same. So this should be the weapons room. Yeah. Only problem is I don't remember where I oriented myself in relation to the room I need to get into. So there isn't an obvious way up into control room number 1. But yeah, so one of the things that's really rewarding about solving sort of a puzzle that a developer gives to you is the fact that you get a little bit of an insight in terms of how they think about the game. Whether that's the way that they think you as a player think. So I remember Valve had a problem for a very long time of never being able to understand why players didn't look up. Whoa! Jesus Christ. That genuinely made me jump. Well, I found a new area. I don't remember how long it's been since I... Alright. So I'm just gonna start by taking a quick look. I feel like I saved after I took down those other guys. Yeah. Now the real test is whether or not I can find that place again. Yeah, that definitely escalated quickly. And we faced a bigger robot before and we didn't have a problem. I think I went down the wrong way. Anyways, we'll work it out. Yeah, for those of you curious, this game is actually not that punishing, but I did something very stupid. I thought realistic damage was like just basically a totally new or totally different game mode in which like it would sort of promote the puzzle solving aspects of the game, where you know, if you fire at a guy, you know, they'll basically be taken down right away, but if they fire at you, then you know, then you die. Apparently that is not correct. That is, hang on. All right, so this is where I found the... Yeah. All right. So I don't think I have any other options but to EMP this. And that accomplished nothing. Oh, hang on. So there's definitely a vent up there. Oh, wait a minute. But that's just a decorative vent. Alright, well that was a waste of an EMP. I don't think I quite know about that third room. Nothing more exciting than seeing a streamer stuck on a stuck on a level. All right. But yeah, so I know Valve was complaining for a really long time that players would never look up to solve puzzles, and as a result, you know, they factored that in. I mean, I think the best example of this, I'm pretty sure this is in Portal. There's a level which basically just paints a big up arrow to tell you this is how you're supposed to solve the puzzle. So far as I can tell, the only way you can, or the only thing that poison gas does for you is to clear out the enemies. All right. So let me just get my bearings again. There's a lockpick. Ah, I think this is where we needed to go. You're kidding me. So I kind of want to see what's in this room, but not at the expense of like getting my character blown away. I think it'd be better to use this to blow up the lockers, to be completely honest, but enjoy your breakfast, sir. And again, we get nothing. All right, well, thanks, game. Just wasted too hard to come by electronics with that. All right. But for some reason that opened all the lockers? Cool. Well, I'm not gonna question it. We had another one of the locals attempt to hack the security keypad elevator. Looks like a kid this time. He did a pretty good job of staying out of the surveillance field. Anyway, Nicole managed an override before he got in, reset the code to 989. Hopefully that'll keep them out until we can get more security on the entrance. I'm assuming it's because the blast radius of this thing was, or of my lamb was in the Alright. So a couple things that I want to find out. Number one, okay, so we very clearly blew up. Nonsense. Okay. So apparently if I look up, so is it, let's just think for a minute if it's actually possible to access that area. So the one thing I can think about is if you carry some boxes. No, but there's no way you can get boxes that are that tall. Okay, so the secret passageway theory doesn't work. You know, blowing up the robot, you know, kind of apparently the walls don't clip. So what is it about this locker? I guess, so I was talking about, you know, obviously the satisfaction of solving the puzzle is the chief thing. So what is it about this area that tells you that this is the tech guy? It's really only the fact that there's one of these helicopters up here, but that's not much of a tell that this is the owner of the tech sergeant. Anyways, not really worth dwelling on. But yeah, presumably you needed. So this is actually one of the other things that weirds me out is if you need 2 lockpicks. I think they only give you 1 in this level, so presumably there's some way that you can...
Back in business. Come on down and stay clear of the blast doors to the south. I'm gonna launch a missile.
Presumably they're expecting you to take at least 1 lockpick with you to solve this level. I don't know, there's probably something really obvious that I'm missing, but... Well, fortunately, I already dealt with the the friends. God. All right. Let's take a minute to spend some of our points. I will admit, this is probably not my favorite level so far. I think this one is maybe a little too, I don't know, I don't think they give you quite enough to make this a fair challenge. I don't know though. Let's grade, we'll do all the way for hacking. And I don't have enough for more electronics. So I could put some more points into rifle because I am using that a little more often. Or I can save up. I think I'm gonna hold off actually, and I'll save again just to save myself the trouble of doing that. Maybe I'll take a look at like a walkthrough online and see how they justify the path that you take, but I have a feeling they probably just say go to this place, go to this place, go to this place, which is actually one of the major reasons why I don't like walkthroughs. I like, I don't mind making the progress in a game. It's never been kind of a, show off the skills sort of thing, but I think it's a missed opportunity if you don't actually solve the game on its own terms. I don't really think you get the experience of sort of how the developers thought about it. And I think good games usually have some nice...
Okay, you need to find Tracer Tong. He used to drop Paul off at a small compound east of the market. You could start there. Don't lose any time. Your kill switch is 12 hours old.
If you die, our plans will fail. Locate Tracer Tong.
This is neat. But yeah, so I think you miss out on an opportunity to sort of see the game and see the game world the way the developer intended. So, like a great example of this would be Dark Souls. So much of that game is revealed just by where they put certain things and sort of what's implied by their placement. And I think by and large Deus Ex does this as well. And I actually think that little side bit is yeah, well, it's like, to me, Jeff, I think, actually kind of, so, again, I think this this might actually just indicate that I'm getting old or something like that, but when I look at this, I kind of get excited by this. Like, to me, I sort of appreciate that this is, you know, a crowded Hong Kong market when what we're seeing...
I go somewhere else.
You know, when this is nothing of the sort. There's all of 2 people that I've seen here, but I sort of get what's being communicated by this... I kind of get what's being communicated by this environment, and the music, and like by the standards of this game, this is kind of like a bustling metropolis. And one of the ways that they've accomplished that is just by, like, if you consider all the levels, like this is almost like crawling around that that ventilation shaft. Have I tried any of the mods? No, I haven't. Object in Space, because this is the first time that I'm going to be playing it through to completion. This is actually brand new for me here.
Screw you. Take a hike.
So yeah, little things here. So this is one of the things that I like. You know, again, for those of you who are really irritated about me talking about the fact that this thing only fit on 1 CD, you know, you really need to make everything count, and yet you haven't, you know, with the existing resources, there's a story that's being told here about this Cassandra character who's going from...
I have made other arrangements.
I never fall asleep. I am one of the best watchmen.
Let alone. I don't work with a voice.
This is a bad market. Lots of bad people.
Go.
So,
Do not touch.
I'm just looking.
2? Yes, a little something to brighten up the line.
Cassandra's going through out here and basically being thrown out of every shop. This kid here is trying to sell his services as a watchman.
Has done much to revitalize the community. Well, they're always hiring. I guess that's something. I will wrap them up. No, I can manage.
So,
Very good. Thank you.
obviously one of the things, let's go for the most maligned Assassin's Creed game, something like Assassin's Creed Unity. One of the things that excites me the most about playing that one, even if the game turns out to suck, which most people tell me it does, you know, to be able to play a game set in the French Revolution and to see just the giant crowds, that's something I really want to experience, right? What this game has done instead is, because it doesn't have the technology to portray these crowds, instead they tell these little stories with just, I mean, I think there's maybe about 5 characters that we've seen, and yet there's now 2 or 3 different little storylines going on as we go through this environment. And again, there's just something really nice about the fact that this game is so compact. And again, like I said, it's where, you know, if you just... So following a walkthrough isn't necessarily a question in terms of showing off skill, because I really don't have it, right? Like, I'm not going to be doing a speed run, I'm not going to be doing anything along those lines. But just being able to sort of, again, experience the game world as the developers intended it, and to think about what they want you to, you know, to experience, I think counts for a lot. So, this thing with the kid in the flower merchant goes on for 4 minutes. Oh, I missed the majority of it, so that's my bad. But Elkanu, thank you very much for that host. I think I should actually get some shout-outs out of the way. Elkanu, I forgot. Have you played Deus Ex all the way through? Guys, for those of you who don't know, let's actually do this in order. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to pause. You get to still hear the wonderful soundtrack for this, but let's get a couple of shout-outs out of the way. We have got Johnny Big Time, very dear friend of this cast, much more entertaining caster than I am. He knows how to bring the fun to every cast that he's done. He's got some new shows lined up, which I'm looking forward to. If you'd like to tell us when and where this stuff is going to be happening. Yeah, I did too, Elkanu, but I only got to this point. Everything else is brand new for me, so I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be streaming tonight, but I'm definitely looking forward to. I'm definitely looking forward to experiencing it. But anyways, Johnny Big Time. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do something that I normally do with these guys. So sorry for the slight break in the gameplay, guys, but there's a couple of really good casters in here who I want to give the proper treatment for. So we've got Johnny Big Time. So, like I said, he's somebody who, unlike me, is actually very good at portraying the, or like at showing skill at the game that he plays, in addition to giving some good commentary. I think I don't necessarily have a skill clip for you right now, but I'll give you guys a bit of an indication in terms of what you are looking for, or what you can look forward to with one of his Grand Theft Auto playthroughs. So this is Johnny Big Time, the guy who I just shouted out, with his playthrough of Grand Theft Auto 5.
Here you go, Chop. Look at the ball. Chop! Go get the ball, Chop!
Go get the ball, Chop.
No! He's alive! You bitch!
Alright, so if you like that kind of stuff, Johnny Big Time is exceptional at it. Like, he's really somebody who I feel like every time I go into his channel, I have another clip to show for it. Not to be outdone, El Canoe is another very dear friend of this cast. And by the way, so as Johnny said in chat, he's actually looking to unveil some of the new shows that he's got underway. So definitely looking forward to that. Not to be outdone, El Canoe is somebody who I like giving a very special shout out to because he is a French caster, and yet he has done a better job than most, I think, at really showing some of the games that I've been interested in their best light. So much so that I've actually bought a couple of games specifically from his playthroughs. El Canoe is actually another very clippable streamer. It's always kind of fun, and he will usually in his Facebook newsletter, he'll usually show a highlight of a week or something like that. So I think there's always a little bit of a competition for everyone to come up with sort of the best clip of that particular week. One of the things that I unfortunately get clobbered by his supermod Pompaneko, who apparently, I still don't remember actually doing this, but apparently I called a he the last time that El Canoe was here, but I can assure you that Pompaneko is a milady. Supermod for El Canoe, so I might have to use one of her clips. But again, it's very difficult to try and convince non-French speakers to watch somebody who is primarily a French-speaking caster. But really, El Canoe is an absolute gem. He is magnificent in terms of his, just kind of the fun that he brings to his casts. And I don't know, it's I'm gonna have to do a clip that I've shown before, but if you guys fair enough. Well, I mean, maybe she'll show up, and every time I keep apologizing for it, I will I'll just wind up revealing it that way. I'm gonna have to do a repeat of one of the ones that he's done, but I think this is actually a magnificent clip of El Canoe, which is something in the spirit of one of Johnny Big Time streams. But I think this should give you a good example of how El Canoe's ability to communicate both the game mechanics and also his sense of humor through body language really pays off, and why I think he's absolutely worth your attention. So let me just quickly throw it up here, and this is him playing Resident Evil.
Ah! Ah! Ça va pas! No! 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 Ah! 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 What? Ah! Elle bouge encore!
So, two absolutely wonderful casters. I always like to say that it's El Canoe, Johnny Big Time, and Jesse Quill are my top three casters on Twitch. And obviously, I didn't show one of Jess's clips, but El Canoe is an absolutely outstanding caster. And if you like stuff like that, again, I am slowly getting better at my French, in a large part due to watching El Canoe. I'm gonna save the game too, because I've been wasting a lot of time. My kill switch is gonna go before, because of these shoutouts. But El Canoe and Johnny Big Time are two absolute gems on Twitch. Again, even if the language barrier is there, El Canoe, comedy is a universal language, and El Canoe, in addition to being great at sort of showing the the highlights of the games that he plays. Definitely knows how to bring humor to just about everything. I've really been enjoying his Dark Souls playthrough, by the way, and Johnny Big Time has been doing a little bit more Horizon Zero Dawn, but like I said, he will be doing some new material as early as tomorrow, possibly. So, definitely looking forward to that. And Jess kind of got short shrift on this. Actually, Jeff DeHef is one of Jess's mods and her masseur. Jess is another very dear friend of the cast. I maybe won't leave it to a clip unless she's here to share it with everybody. But thank you, Monsieur Craig. Thank you. Your serious business mod, absolutely. Jeff DeHef actually covered modding duties yesterday because I didn't want too much of Resident Evil 7 spoiled for me. Welcome to Wanchai. Please use the following map provided at no cost and to enjoy and see our beautiful district. The Wanchai Market is where you take in tea, buy a bird, and shop for antiques and other wonderments. The Old China Hand and Lucky Money Club have dancing and drinks for all. End your day with much ovation in a sampan ride through the historic canal or observe ceremonies in the authentic temple in the main square. Grey Death cases misdiagnosed, the Hong Kong Standard. Authorities confirmed today that a number of mysterious illnesses reported at area clinics were not cases of the Grey Death, as had been previously feared, but merely a seasonal outbreak of influenza. Dr. Chang Lam of the People's Health Administration headed the inquiry. I can say with a complete certainty that these cases exhibit absolutely none of the symptoms of the so-called Grey Death, cases which, I might add, have so far only been reported in the less well-managed cities of America and Europe. Those malcontents who spread rumors to the contrary are merely feeding upon the unjustified fears of the hard-working men and women of Hong Kong. Dr. Lam went on to say that anyone observed making such claims would be reported to local party leaders for counseling. This is a really interesting thing too, because I think this game came out around 2000 or 2001, so the transfer of Hong Kong to China would be a fairly recent event when this game was being made, possibly something that would have happened during its developments, depending how long the game took to develop. And certainly, having come from Vancouver, which has a very large immigrant community, which came specifically from that transfer, it's kind of interesting. And I don't know, so I know H1N1 was a good example of a case where the Chinese authorities sort of tried to subdue the reporting of an epidemic. I don't know if there was a case before that which inspired that, but if not, that's particularly prescient in terms of how the country tends to respond to events like that. Canal Road tunnel collapse, Hong Kong Standard. Explosions rocked the Wan Chai district 2 days ago as fighting between the warring triads resulted in a cave-in and flooding of the Canal Road tunnel, effectively halting almost all access to and from the Wan Chai area. While the fighting occurred in the early hours of the morning, traffic was light. A number of bystanders were trapped during the fighting and subsequently presumed dead. Names of the deceased have not been released at this time. Police have barricaded the area at the Wan Chai terminal and have forbidden any access until a thorough forensic analysis can be made and the bodies removed. In a statement released earlier today, the police declined to name any suspects. The chief, Joey Lung, expressed that the reprehensible nature of this crime will not go unanswered by the Hong Kong police. Jacob's Shadow by Andrew Hammond, Chapter 20. Samuel looked at him from across the table, but he might as well have been peering at Jacob from the Devil's Own palace in the deep blue sea. After a moment, Samuel rubbed his rheumy eyes. "You ever wonder about morals?" he said. Jacob shook his head. "I do, all the damn time. I wonder what it means to be good, if there's some way to if there's some tally that says, you only hurt 10 people, so come on up, but 11 and you're going straight to hell. Then I think maybe it's a little voice that tells you way back in your head, and then I wonder what happens when that voice goes away." Jacob reached under the table and put the little .22 pistol against one of Samuel's kneecaps. "I don't think you're going to like my answer to that. Where is she?" Mass driver accident kills over 2,000. APR, Ibadan, Nigeria. The historical first delivery of ore from the Zhu Enlai lunar mining complex ended in tragedy today when a targeting error resulted in the payload slamming into the outskirts of the city of Ibadan in Nigeria. Thousands died in the initial blast. That was compared to a small nuclear bomb as the payload impacted in a sparsely populated suburb, while thousands more were left disoriented, homeless, and without power or water in wake of the explosion. Chinese officials had halted all other deliveries from the Zhao Enlai complex and are working with both the United Nations and officials from McMoran Global Steel to determine the cause of the error. McMoran Global Steel was responsible for the construction of the mass driver, winning the contract from Page Industries in a heated bidding war. Obviously, we took the utmost precautions in building the Zhao Enlai driver, says spokesperson Sean Murphy. But something has gone terribly wrong. Our only real response at this point is to offer our condolences and to aid the people of Ibadan and ensure that such an event never occurs again. So my suspicion here is that probably Page Industries sabotaged that mission in order to try and get the contract.
Such a quaint little market.
Perhaps a present for your girlfriend?
I don't have one.
You're next to the compound Paul used to visit, but I don't know who it belongs to. I think I'm clear now. Good thing the NSA invested in stealth technology.
She said no.
Impossible.
She said she has made other arrangements.
The Red Arrow?
She was very rude.
You know what to do.
Yes, sir.
Don't waste any time.
Let's see what happens with the kid here. Apparently there was going to be a moon-based mission, but it never panned out, so they left those newspaper in the game as atmosphere. That's neat, actually, especially because we one of the story games that we actually just finished was Wolfenstein: The New Order, which had a pretty good moon sequence or lunar sequence. So, it's actually, I think, one of the things that's missing from modern cyberpunk. So probably, I guess, the founding text, if you want to call it that, would be Neuromancer, which actually ends in space. It's a really satisfying story. But obviously, the modern take has usually been a little bit more about, you know, mirror shades and cyberspace, much less about
Rules of Triad Wars. Red Arrow versus Luminous Path.
What do you think of the Luminous Path Triad?
Cowards, soon to be gone. They have to steal weapons because they have lost the traditional arts.
What kind of weapons?
They murdered the Red Arrow leader to get the sword he invented.
How do you invent a sword?
It uses modern technology. I pay the Red Arrow even though the Luminous Path compound is 50 meters away. Many publications. What's your interest?
What do you think of the Red Arrow Triad?
They will control all of Wenchai in a few weeks.
You sound certain.
The fighting is not going well for the Luminous Path. Maggie Chow exclusive interview in the Oriental Daily News.
Have you heard of Maggie Chow?
A former actress, well respected. She gives a lot of money to fight drug trafficking and illegal trade. Please
course.
put a newspaper back when you are done blasting.
I haven't seen Maggie Chow, so I guess that doesn't mean as much.
I did it. I did it.
Did anybody see?
Yeah, I think so.
It doesn't matter. We got her payment, plus interest. Get back and see if she earned something.
Okay. Go away.
My brother's name is Paul Denton. I heard that he was a frequent visitor to this compound. You know him?
The Luminous Path is close to Guilos.
Paul was no friend of the West.
My name is Gordon Creek. I know your brother, but you are not him. They say you are loyal to UNATCO.
I was, before Paul showed up in New York. A day later, I was helping the NSF.
You want me to take your word? You are in Hong Kong now, and we are businessmen. Paul earned our trust by working with us.
I don't have time for games.
No games. We would like another ally like Paul. The Triads are at war, thanks to a woman named Maggie Chow. A sword was stolen from the Red Arrow Triad, and Miss Chow started the war by bringing us the Luminous Path.
Why is one sword so important?
It is an extraordinary sword called the Dragon's Tooth. Nanotechnology developed by the Red Arrow's Fomorida before he was murdered. We know that Chow is a liar, but we have no proof.
I'll go speak to her. But first I need to find a man called Tracer Tong. I need his help.
Mr. Tong deals with businessmen, not beggars or strangers who might be spies. Chow lives at 1313 Tonochi Road. Be observant. Find and examine that sword. It is the evidence we need.
I'll help you against Miss Chow, but then I'll need to see Tong, or I won't be your ally for more than about 12 hours.
Interesting.
The former Red Arrow Reader stole nanotech components from VersaLife. I believe it was the corporation that
I might actually have to do... I might only have about 15 more minutes left of this, so sorry guys, it's going to be a little more, I guess less gameplay on this, although there's a lot of neat story stuff coming out of this. But yeah, that's not a problem, Jeff to Hef. I know you guys were talking a little bit about the taxing.
Of orchids, symbolizing grace and integrity.
Are you guys?
Bad people around here. I am your new watchman.
For 100 credits from me.
The Dragonhead said I am your watchman. 50 credits every day. That's better than 100.
I can make a profit as it is.
I will do a good job. I can tell them you're a spy, and they will kill you.
Not if I get you first. Actually, I think that triggers hostile responses.
Good job cleaning up this market.
I'm just gonna save for a quick second. But yeah, I know Jess's stuff is fairly complicated. I actually need to get taxes done myself. It's been a few years, and I kind of ignored them because I was in school. But definitely, first of all, you guys have been very generous with the donations. So unfortunately, that now means that I need to make sure that those get properly reported. And then, in addition, I mean, I'm working now, so I don't think they're going to be as interested in my excuses. So I'm a little curious if... No problem, Johnny, big time. There's a lot of story stuff, but nothing... nothing absurd. And again, whenever there's story stuff that happens in a game, I'll be like mid-thought, and then all of a sudden I kind of, I never finish it just because I'm looking for...
20 credits for that one.
Just because something new happens in the game and I want to react to that or talk about that. So this is a lot bigger of an environment than I thought it was. Again, I'm avoiding any mission stuff. I'd prefer to talk to the Red Arrow before I do the Maggie Chow mission. Just because it seems like one of these things which can potentially, if you don't get all the information, you kind of get railroaded down one path, which may not necessarily be in your interest.
Yalhak.
Doesn't sound very serene. I'll admit, I've never been in a temple that looks quite like this. For those of you who haven't played it, by the way, especially looking at a game like this, there is a really wonderful narrative game by Davey Wreden, who was one of the sort of the co-designers of the Stanley Parable, called The Beginner's Guide, and actually talks about how an engine will influence the kinds of environments. So Source Engine, you know, makes a lot of long corridors because games made in the Source Engines tend to have big long corridors because that's sort of the way that damn, it's West Side Story. So I'm thinking Red Arrow are probably not the guys I want to side with. Though this is kind of fun to watch. But yeah, so if you haven't played some more classic games like this, it's a little bit harder to maybe appreciate the point, because possibly the ones that you've played don't reflect that, except for the Beginner's Guide itself. But it is, again, to me it is interesting. Did you just kill him in friendly fire? Come on, it's 2-on-1, guys. You can do it. I'll maybe avoid looting the bodies on the odd chance it causes a problem.
Nothing to see here.
Oh, I see. The gang members can go by, just not me. Alright, you know what? I think we gotta update the soundtrack. Enough of that. That wouldn't surprise me, Shaggy said. I mean, it seems like it sort of depends on who gets the first genuine hit, because it seems like the AI will just constantly run away if they're sufficiently low, and so at that point there's no way they exit the scene. So basically, it's just gonna make them run around until they die. So I'm not quite sure. Presumably there's some reason for me to be down here, which I haven't encountered yet. That'll probably be one that I do for next cast, but at least we got to have some fun. And I know I'm retracing a lot of stuff from before. I'm trying to avoid the Lucky Money Club if I can. Just because I don't think that's going to bring me any closer with the red arrow. I think this just leads me back to a little bit of a circle, but... Alright, so we already went here. It's not clear if I'm...
Paul Denton, I have the blueprints. I must warn you, Oh.
Warn me about what?
I have made a mistake.
Paul's my brother. What's the problem?
No, I have made a mistake. No, I am sorry.
Alright, that's encouraging. Ooh, ice. Obviously some visual glitches going on here, but... Again, I don't think this brings us any closer to the triads we want to check out, or the... or Maggie. Alright, we'll maybe hold off on that for a bit. I'm not quite sure what's causing these glitches. The GOG versions of things are actually usually pretty good. So... I do know this one I needed to get at least one patch to adjust sort of a speed problem, but I'll also say it's actually the first time I've ever had any problem with a GOG game, and it was a pretty minor one, so I was happy with that. In case you guys wanted to guess who the affiliate link was with. Alright. Again, not crazy about leaping into the canals, so that's naturally what I do now. I know they gave me an address for Maggie, but I was really hoping to find the red arrow before I did all of this. But yeah, anyways, we were talking a little bit earlier. It was Object in Space. Said there was supposed to be a lunar mission, which again, I'm not entirely sure I miss its presence. But it's really interesting to hear that there was a Cyberpunk game that actually made an effort to sort of go back to something that occurred in sort of the original Cyberpunk story, Neuromancer. I think it's also sometimes a bit of a missed opportunity because, I mean, there's two ways you can look at it, right? You could say, all right, we've got... wait, I think this is where the fight happened, wasn't it? Yeah. Sorry guys, I'm a little unfocused on the game at the moment. So you can sort of say it's like, well, you know, as history has turned out for us, you know, as far as space exploration is concerned, it's really only now that we've sort of rekindled that particular interest. Although there's an equally interesting argument to be made that, you know, sort of for lack of imaginative science fiction stories, you know, instead it's all a bunch of, you know, just horrible things happening, and sort of, I don't know, depressing view. Ooh.
Do you want to do business in Wang Chai?
We already have an arrangement with the Luminous Path.
Do you want to do business in Wang Chai?
I will not be threatened.
Don't think your Luminous Path can protect you.
Get out, now!
As you wish, but don't be surprised if you don't pass your next inspection.
I know people on the health board. They can't be bought.
Perhaps, but they're just like rats. Don't interfere in my business.
Welcome to the Wan Chai Tea House. Anything you like, 12 credits.
What do you think of the triads?
Don't talk to me about triads.
They give you a lot of trouble?
They are punks. Talking all the time about community and traditions, then they fight over technology from a multinational corporation like VersaLife.
How do you know that the sword came from VersaLife?
It has nanotech components. It is self-sharpening or something. I wish they would use it to chop off each other's heads.
Oh, this is a neat one, so I guess the guy just released
Oh my
it.
god, they are everywhere.
We had the Jiaoxi. Very good.
I can't stand it. I've got to get out here.
They will kill the rats. Not a problem.
Disgusting.
A small matter to discuss.
Explain.
A disturbance in the tea house. Can you overlook?
100.
No injuries, only a prank.
100.
I have 55.
100.
65.
Okay, 65.
Mind your own business.
I think last thing we'll do tonight is we'll follow this guy. Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna follow that guy, but let's see if he heads towards HQ or just. No, it looks like he's just sitting around.
Those are very big.
All right, we've been here. Not much to do here. It looks like. I'm not entirely sure I want to try and hack my way into police headquarters. Oh. Unless he does something creative, I think maybe we'll end on the lucky money, or maybe we'll save and make the lucky money the first thing that we do. So especially for people who came in kind of on the back end of this, I know not a whole lot of exciting gameplay going on. Apologies for that. But I do kind of like sinking in, sort of drinking in the atmosphere. Let's see if I can finish the idea on space and cyberpunk. So I think I think actually Neil Stevenson has talked about this quite a bit. But the idea of sort of a lack of sort of big ideas in science fiction, instead sort of focusing more on these dystopias, is at least partially responsible for sort of a lack of sort of big thinking so far as science is concerned. I mean, it's a very hard one to quantify. If you look at Apple products, certainly they're pretty open about the influence that things like Star Trek and that have had on their design, and you know, the Jetsons and whatnot.
I bet you come from the market. That's where I want to go.
All right, so this is going to be Maggie Chow's.
You are an unfamiliar face on Tonochi Road.
I'm here on business from Gordon Quick.
You are here to speak to Miss Chow, perhaps. Half a block down on the left.
Thank you.
The woman is a snake. Believe nothing she says.
Hello, Captain Bear. We're actually going to be wrapping up pretty soon, so just heads up. I think I approached this guy from behind.
There's too much fighting. I have.
Strangers in Hong Kong should stay near the market.
It doesn't look so tough.
You missed them. They left over an hour ago.
I'm looking for a way into this building.
Use front of building. Only try use sidewalk living back.
Good advice.
Interesting. It's just not clear what I get. So I definitely don't want to use explosives in this area because this thing is going to stomp the living daylights out of me. Maybe I should use the front then.
Maggie Chow wants to see me. I assume that's her hotel across the street?
That is correct.
How do I get up to see her?
The main elevator. Maggie Chow would be angry if you arrive any other way. I saw you speaking to that thug over there. Unwise.
Oh, that's really interesting, Jeff, to have. So do you like Warcraft, or is it just the real-time strategy stuff that they've done that isn't your cup of tea? All right, tell you what, guys. I think because I'm not going to be able to fill this full mission, we'll save here, and we'll pick it up. I think most likely it'll be Wednesday. And again, I apologize, guys. I know a lot of it was sort of spent. I didn't even finish the science fiction thought, but I do actually need to sort of wrap it up. You enjoyed Warcraft for its story and some of its gameplay. That's fair. One of the things that I think is kind of funny, actually, is I know I have a reputation for being someone who... is there no way to go back to the main menu? I guess not. But yeah, I know I have a reputation for somebody who plays a lot of real-time strategy, but it's actually not one that... It's not my first choice. So, a lot of people, like, recommend Total War to me. It's actually taken me a while to get into Total War. And I like... I think the analogy that I've come up with is that as far as strategy game players, or ones who like those historical strategy perspectives, you've got sort of Louis XIV players and you've got Charles XII players. Louis XIV players like the sort of the management of the country. So it's okay to abstract away some of the combat because they want to focus more on like building infrastructure and, you know, and building big armies and letting the generals fight the battles. So that's going to be a Crusader Kings or a Europa Universalis style game. And then Charles XII, who was a king, but definitely a very able general and perhaps maybe not the best statesman. They would gravitate more towards Total War games, which the focus is very much on the tactical elements, the actual battles, and the sort of the way of you know, the day-to-day running of the country is sort of abstracted away, and instead you focus a lot on individual combat. I would definitely consider myself more of a Louis XIV style player. So as fun as I find real-time strategy, and I definitely enjoyed games like StarCraft and Warcraft, I don't actually play them multiplayer that much, just because I find the tendency to you know, just reduce it down to, you know, how quickly can you click your mouse within the first few minutes to get like an economy set up and things like that. It's maybe not, it's not the most satisfying strategic experience for me. Anyways, guys, I probably should focus more on this game. I think most likely I'll probably play this on Wednesday because I don't know, I really like Deus Ex. I know I need to find a balance between this and Assassin's Creed Revelations, but maybe Deus Ex on Wednesday and Assassin's Creed Revelations on Friday. Of course, as always, it depends on what I feel like. As for you guys, why would you want to play this game? Why would you want to watch it? This is a game that has, depending on whose rankings you look at, some people consider this one of the best, or no, the best game that's ever been made. I'm maybe not going to go that far, although I haven't gone to the end. But I think if you guys have liked some of the other stuff that I've played, System Shock 2 for instance, or you'd like an idea in terms of where a game has gone outside of its usual, I don't know, that goes maybe outside of, you know, a time when games were really focused on sort of first-person shooters and the shooter aspect, and instead wanted to do something that incorporated a lot of the, maybe some of the elements of adventure games, giving you puzzles to solve, something that maybe gave you some choice and gave you, you know, first-person adventure that you could play, in which you could sort of express personality in terms of how you solved problems. There's really no other game like it. I think it's a really well-done game. I think the story is interesting. And even though obviously the graphics are outdated, I think it holds up quite well. And I think one of the big things about it is that the art style sort of knows what it's working with, and as a result, you know, it's blocky, but it has something that is sort of unique to it. You can pick it up off of GOG. You can also pick it up off of Steam, but again, I always recommend GOG for classic games. I will say, in my experience, I did need to download a sort of a fan patch for it to sort of slow it down. The game seems to run a little too fast out of the box. Although I do believe that GOG, if you have any problems, I believe GOG does help you out with those. Let me just take a quick second. Every PC or video card purchase in the early 2000s seemed to come with a copy of Deus Ex. Oh, that's really interesting. I remember I just bought the game like on its own. Actually, my parents bought it for me because I was quite young. Let me just take a quick look and see what it costs on GOG right now. So it is currently $9.99 US, $13.09 Canadian. I believe if you get Deus Ex and Deus Ex 2, which was Invisible War, not Human Revolution, you get 34% off. So, oh, that's weird actually. So if you buy the original game, Game of the Year edition, it's $13.09. But if you actually buy this, oh no, if you buy the series, because I already own Game of the Year. Never mind. I believe there's a discount if you buy the series, but I actually already own Invisible War. Anyways, I think they're really good. They're a great. It's definitely a really good game in terms of just showing you how you can sort of marry a narrative to some first-person mechanics and not just make it sort of a sequence of shooting events with a story in between, but something that is actually kind of a nice kind of a conspiracy story, a science fiction story that can be told from this perspective and give you a lot of choice and variety in terms of how to accomplish it. And all of it was done in about 431 megabytes. So I actually think, yeah, it is definitely not 70% off right now. So, but I believe you can get it for as low as $5 if you wait to pick it up. Anyways, guys, I am tired, so I'm gonna stop streaming for a little bit. I do appreciate you guys hanging out. I know it was a shorter stream, and for those of you who came in later, there wasn't as much story stuff to do. We'll jump straight into a mission next time around. And actually, Jessie Quill is streaming right now, which I didn't know, so let's give her a raid. I get very few opportunities to do this, so I'd love it if you guys can come along. Jess is the third on that that trinity of streamers that I like watching. You got to see El Canoe, you got to see Johnny Big Time, and instead of giving you a clip of Jessie Quill, I would love it if you guys could come along and show some support. She is a very dear friend of mine, and she's currently playing Crash Bandicoot. She just had her birthday yesterday too, so please wish her a happy birthday or happy post-birthday if you haven't seen her yet, or if you haven't said it to her yet. As for me, we'll be back tomorrow for more Crusader Kings 2, and if you want Deus Ex, we will have that on Wednesday. Talk to you later. See ya.